Hello everyone, my name is Neha. Today I will be presenting chapter 6 from the Fundamentals of Business Process Management book. This chapter focuses on qualitative tools used to analyze and improve the business processes. So let's get into this. So let me start with the table of contents. This will give you a roadmap of today's presentation. So in this table, we'll look for the introduction, value added analysis, waste analysis, and the case study of the waste analysis, stakeholder analysis, issue documentation, root cause analysis and example, summary, and takeaways. So before diving into specific tools, let's get understand what qualitative process analysis really is. Unlike the quantitative analysis, which focuses on the matrix and the numbers like cycle time or cost, the qualitative analysis deals with the human insight. It helps us understand why a process fails, where waste hides, and how people experience the workflow. These techniques are especially valuable when the data doesn't tell the full story, such as when delays are caused by the poor communication or unclear responsibilities, etc. By using interviews, observations, and team input, we can identify real issues and improve collaboration, satisfaction, and inefficiency. This chapter introduces five key techniques. The first one is value added analysis, waste analysis, stakeholder analysis, issue documentation, and root cause analysis. We'll see all these techniques one by one in our coming slides. So, in value added analysis, there are three subtypes like value adding means what the customer wants, business value adding means necessary internal functions, non value adding means waste work. So we'll look at these subtypes one by one. So first one is value added analysis, which is one of the simplest and the most effective way to improve a business processes. It involves classifying each activity or step into one of the three categories. So, in value adding, these are activities that the customer would willingly pay for, like delivering a product or solving their issues, etc. If the step doesn't directly benefit the customer, it may not be value adding. Next one is business value adding. In this section, these don't add value directly from the customer's point of view, but they are necessary for the businesses to function, like compliance checks or internal approvals. This should be optimized but not necessarily removed. And the next one is non value adding. These are the pure work activities that consumes time or resources without delivering any value. For example, rework or duplicate entries or waiting for someone's response, etc. These are the steps we want to eliminate. So now let's take simple example, pizza ordering system. So in this case, if we talk about the value adding section, the steps where the pizza is prepared, baked, delivered to your door are clearly value adding. So that's why you are as a customers are paying for. And in the business value adding, the restaurant might have internal steps like checking inventory or launching the orders in their system. These don't benefit you directly but are necessary for the businesses to operate properly. And the non value adding, now imagine your order gets entered incorrectly and they have to remake it, or maybe the delivery driver waits for 15 minutes just because the address wasn't confirmed. That non value adding work waste that doesn't help anyone and should be eliminated. So we have talked about the process, but how do we know what part of it are actually wasteful? That's where waste analysis comes in. So let's take a closer look. So these wastes are often hidden within the business processes. For example, delays in document approvals, duplicated emails, or even unclear instructions can lead to motion, waiting, and the rework. Identifying this waste give us powerful insight into where time and resources are being lost and where improvements can begin. So let's do let's look at how these wastes appear in real world processes in the coming slide. So in waste analysis, now we'll take a closer look of the equipment rental process. So this diagram shows a fragment of the equipment rental process from submitting a rental request to creating a purchase order. In this diagram, we'll take a look of the transportation waste. So notice that how the request move back and forth between the different roles, like site engineer, clerk, work engineer, and each handoff shown with dash arrows labeled transportation, that is the potential delay and introduced as a waste. So it's like from the site engineer to clerk, from clerk to work engineer, and back again for reviews and the PO creation. So these transition often involves the emails, approvals, or system switches, and none of which add direct value to the customer. The next is waiting state, where the availability is checked if equipment is not available and the request loops back. So this causes the delays while waiting for a review or the alternate decisions. Then the overprocessing means the duplicate checks or steps performed just to meet the internal policy. For example, in this case, if the equipment was already verified but still needs another review by the works engineer, it could be a overprocessing. The next is defects or rework. Means if the request is rejected after several steps, that's defect waste. Means work already done now needs to be redone or replaced with a new request. So by applying the waste analysis visually like this, organizations can reduce the delays, cut unnecessary steps, and improve both the efficiency and employee satisfaction. So this is the stakeholder analysis, where the stakeholders are the people affected by or involved in the process. So we need to identify them, understand their concerns, and map their influences. For example, in a sell process, the customer wants speed, while IT cares about the system uptime. So we need to be take care of their needs and we need to balance it out so that we can analyze what they are looking for and what are their requirements. So this is all about the stakeholder analysis, which is the another important aspect in the qualitative process analysis. Once we have identified process inefficiencies or complaints, whether through interviews, observations, or workshops, we need a way to capture and prioritize those issues systematically. So let's say during process analysis, we identified the 10 different issues. Instead of guessing where to start, we log each one in an issue register. So Everyone is clear about what needs attention. Then next, we map those issues on a pick chart. If something is easy to fix and will deliver a lot of value, like automating a manual email reminder, it lands in the implement box and becomes a quick win. But if something is difficult to fix and won't help much, like overhauling a rarely used system, it goes in the kill box. So, this approach allows teams to be strategic and avoid wasting energy on low value work. This is the root cause analysis. And the left hand side, this is the fishbone diagram, which helps us brainstorm and visually categorize all the potential causes of a problem. The structure looks like a fish skeleton where the head is the problem and the bones are cause categories. So common categories includes the 6 M's, which is man, machine, method, material, milieu, measurement, etc. By walking through each category, teams can identify all contributing factors in a structured way without jumping to the conclusion. And the next diagram is a 5 diagram, which means this is the second tool, often called as a 5 whys, which means it's a simple but powerful method. Once a problem is identified, we ask why repeatedly, typically 5 times, to drill down until we find the root cause. For example, if a customer didn't receive their invoice, we might ask why it wasn't sent, why the system didn't trigger it, then why the status wasn't updated, why the team didn't check anything, and why there's no ownership defined. So, that last why gives us the actual root cause, a lack of process ownership. So, that is the use of the YY diagram. So, together these two tools gives us both breadth and the depth. Means the fishbone helps us explore all the areas, while the YY helps us dig into one path to its true origin. So this is the example of invoice delay and we'll find out the root cause in this case. So we'll apply the YY technique to find out the final solution. So at first the problem just looked like a system delay, but by repeatedly asking why, we were able to uncover a much deeper communication and responsibility issues. So we started with a late invoice and ended up fi- identifying that the root cause is a lack of ownership and poor communication between the departments. That's why the real issue, not just a missed emails. So this example shows the power of the root cause analysis rather than fixing the temporary solutions and to send the manual invoices, we find a permanent solution such as assigning a responsible team and designing a proper processes. So as I have mentioned here, this is the why from 1 to 5, no email, no reminders, no process, no ownership, and poor communication. And we find out that the ownership and because of the poor communication, invoices are getting delayed. And also, I have break down the 5 whys here. So, first is why was the invoice delayed? Because it was never emailed to the customer. Then why wasn't it email? Because the system didn't send a reminder to the team. Then why didn't the system send a reminder? Because no one programmed or configured that step. Why wasn't the step included in the process? Because there is no defined process or SOP for invoice follow. And why there is no process? Because no one was ever assigned responsibility, means poor communication and between like poor communication between the teams. So that is the root cause analysis that we found with this YY technique. To quickly summarize, we explored the key qualitative tools like West analysis, value added analysis, and root cause techniques. So these helps us understand the improve business processes beyond what the number shows. And also we can eliminate the waste, involve the right people and fix the core problems with this qualitative process analysis. These techniques make any process more efficient, reliable, and user friendly. So this is the qualitative process analysis where we find out the root cause of the problem with different tools and the techniques, and this techniques helps us for the business process makes more efficient, reliable, and user friendly. So this is all about the qualitative process analysis. I hope this gave you a clear understanding of how qualitative process analysis works. And if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to take that. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.